What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. Yes, all three of us are on for the first time, and Lord knows how long, but yes, we are on. So happy.
And we weren't on last week. We're sorry.
Yeah, we weren't on. Yeah. So listen, we'll apologize. Brant wasn't feeling well, and we wanted the return of the show with all three of us on. So, and not that we were really gone, but I haven't been there because of heavy workload. So we wanted all three of us to be on strong so we can, start getting back in the groove of things. And there it is, Mr. Negative saying, dope, whole crew will be there. And that's where we're going. So, and we apologize for last week. Again, it was just a last minute thing. And Kat
literally last minute.
Yeah, Kat and I were like, yeah, let's just not do it because Brant's not on and I want us to be on. And then we didn't do a no-show message. Mm-hmm. So for the guys that were hanging around, so sorry. Sorry. But
we apologize.
We promise we'll have a great show for you. Of course, guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer, Comic Book Corner 2.0. Next to me is Cat Comic Uno. And of course, Brant Fowler. You got a fancy new headset, though. I've never seen this one yet.
Yeah, it's the jack for my normal earbuds isn't working for some reason. So I've been using this the past couple of shows. So
gotcha. See, I told you I wasn't around, so I wouldn't know. All right. So what we're going to do today, guys, is we're going to kick it off with the comics this time. Then we're going to talk about news. We got a decent amount of news to discuss today. So it's going to be a fun show. And then, of course, we're going to try to take your comments and your questions at the same time. So again, guys, welcome back. And we appreciate your patience. So you guys ready to talk about some comics?
I'm ready. You know what sucks because we missed last week. I actually enjoyed my comics a lot more last week than I did this week. Yeah. Like this week I had maybe 2 books I really liked, and then last week I had a really solid top 5.
Tomorrow is there's decent amount of books coming out, but the following week, like next Wednesday, I know we talked about it just very brief in the chat, but there's nothing. There's I think I'm getting only 5 books that week.
Oh, that means I'm getting 2.
This is nothing, man.
It's a lot of annuals, right?
Yeah, that's what it is. Annuals, specials, very expensive annuals. In fact, like $7,
Yeah.
Oh,
and they're all 56 pages. And it's oh my God.
Yeah.
But here we go, guys. So let's talk about these big books. And the first one we're going to talk about is Batman Superman World's Finest issue 6. So this book was actually a lot of fun. It was probably in between story arcs, really. We got the conclusion basically of the last in the last issue before that with the Devil Neza or whatever it was. And this goes back to when Dick Grayson was kind of, being back at the circus, and he's kind of reliving his dream, and we had to get Batman and Superman back to find him. And I thought it was a lighthearted issue, kind of like the way this series is, and something before the next story arc kicks off. So for me, it wasn't my favorite issue out of them all, but I still really enjoyed it, So I liked it. What'd you guys think of it?
I thought this issue was okay. It felt like what you were saying is in between arcs, so it was very fillerish. But it was cool to see kind of the Robin's past in a different light. But I'm just more curious to see where the next arc's gonna go. It definitely felt fillerish to me.
Yeah, and that's what it is. I mean, it's between those story arcs,
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It was fine. It was a fun story, but yeah, it was just that gap closer kind of. So it wasn't anything special or anything like that, but it was fun.
Yep, exactly. So all right, so let's go to True. This always throws me off the way it's written, but it's True Colts, right? That's the way it's called, issue 1. This book was absolutely hilarious in my eyes. I love this book. There is at times where it was a little bit maybe wordy or whatnot, but I love the time frame that it took place. It always referenced back to old school 80s rock or 90s rock, which I thought was a lot of fun. But this story of this old burger guy, or this guy that works in this burger place called Burger Lord, tries to say, "Oh, I'm going to make something of my life and I'm going to rob all these stores." And it's so hilarious at first because he gets like $8, $400. He tries to rob a mattress store, and it was just hysterical. It kind of reminded me a little bit of Breaking Bad, because this guy felt like he's never accomplished anything, and he felt like by doing this, it makes him more of a man or something, which was weird. But right away, what happens is it's like the ramifications start as soon as he's obviously done with his little robbery here. And I liked it. I really enjoyed the book. I just thought it was just something different. And at the beginning of that book, I laughed out loud many times. So I had a lot of fun with it.
That's cool. I'm glad you enjoy. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as you did. I did think it was fun. I enjoyed all those aspects you talked about. I think it lost me a little bit with the twist at the end. And then I was like, do I really want to read this book? I don't know. But
right.
Yeah, up until that point, I was fine with it. And yeah, it all those references, and he was obviously out of touch, that guy, with so much stuff, and it was obvious, and it was kind of funny in that regard too.
Yeah. I liked just like how kind of realistic it was. Like, this guy's just some regular Joe Schmo, and he's trying to do something more with his life. And even if it was robbing a bank or whatever it was. Now, like you said, though, the second issue, I don't know where it's going to go from here, you know?
Right.
And that's it. That kind of worries me also. But from what I read of that first issue, I liked it. But again, we'll see where it goes from there.
Right.
And we should definitely mention that this actually was a Kickstarter book. So I think it was like a year or so ago, and then IDW picked it up. So that's pretty cool. And we see that with Deadliest Bouquet, which I believe came out last week, was also a Kickstarter book.
Right. Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome. All right. So let's just dive in now to our number 5. And Brant, what's your number 5?
By default, it's kind of by default. It's Edge of Spider-Verse.
That was mine too.
Okay.
I'm surprised you were like picked up issue 2. I knew Mike would, but I know you were on the fence, bro.
I had pre-ordered it, so it came. I forgot that I pre-ordered it. But yeah, no, I actually enjoyed the Spider UK story. I thought that was a lot more fun than I was expecting. And you know, Spider-Gwen's always fun, but that last story, I didn't love it. But yeah, it was a fine book. It was a fine issue, and it actually made me like, I'd be okay if I saw more Spider UK, because I thought she was an interesting character.
See, I liked her. I thought she was the best. So in the beginning, it's like you got the Spider-Gwen character, or you got Spider-Gwen, which nothing new there. You know what I'm saying? All you saw is her get stung by a wasp. So obviously that was a foreshadow of something happening. Then you obviously get the Spider UK character, and I liked her. I thought the way she was written, I thought it was cool. It was a different, you know, just a different culture, and there was a lot of action there, fighting dragons, mutant dragon, whatever it was. I thought it was cool. You know, I thought this was a character that could actually stick around. You know, if you had the right writer that can write her, I think she could be good. I've heard other people saying that they didn't like her, but I thought that there was nothing wrong with her. I thought that she was actually fine. And I actually like the ending. Like, I actually like the origin story of the villain. She's something different. She comes obviously from the insect family also. She's the wasp character, Shathra, I think her name was. And I enjoyed her, and I feel like she could be a formidable foe. She's the one that corrupted the web of life, and she captured Annie Mae at the end. So it kind of affected her. Yeah. And I said this, she reminds me of Swarm, this Shathra character that infects people, and it's going to be part of her hive. So I that's what she reminded me of. So I like that book. I thought that book was much better than issue 1.
Oh, I agree. I agree completely.
I really didn't love issue 1. So that's why I didn't get issue 2. I'm glad it got a little better. I just feel like I'm just gonna pick up Dan Slott's Spider-Man issue 1. Like, I don't feel like this will be necessary, and that's why I don't feel as bad for not picking up the series. I mean, you guys could tell me if something huge happens, but it just feels a little fillerish to me right now.
Right. Totally get it. I mean, listen, it kind of is, because you're just getting introduced to all these new and different characters, so that's really what
they might not do anything with either, because like, is it gonna continue in Dan Slott's run? Maybe not.
Supposedly it's supposed to, so I don't know.
The way they're building up with this issue, with the Wasp character and the sting that Spider-Man got, and Annie Mae being changed into Nestling, it seems like they're going somewhere with it, at least for a little bit. So
yeah, exactly. All right, so let's see what we got next. Kat.
World's Finest out of default.
Gotcha. Well, out of curiosity, how many books did you read, Kat?
8. Okay. I only had 8 this
What about you, Brant?
13.
13. Okay, gotcha.
How many did you read this week?
16.
Okay, yeah, you definitely had a heavier haul.
Yeah, 16. No, actually 17. I'm sorry. This is funny because I forgot to put in my ranking. I forgot to do a power bomb, so I forgot. Yeah.
Okay.
I read it, but I forgot to put it in my ranking. So which is I don't know how, So
we do have another question. Oh yeah, same question.
Sorry, we had this comment. Frank Miller's Ash Can. Did you get it?
I heard that it's already out. They're making a second printing. I don't care.
I did not get it. I didn't even see it. I don't think there's that many copies of it. I think only a store got so many copies. So it's not something that I think you would be very lucky to get.
I got a bunch of free AWA books, though.
Did you?
Yeah. For some reason, DCBS has been giving me free AWA books with every single order.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they have a deal.
For 3 of them, it was the same issues. And they just give me Hit Me and one other book over and over again. But this time they gave me 2 new number 1s and a trade. They gave me a free trade.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I haven't read it yet.
You're like, I'm not going to complain.
But you're right. Yeah.
Right. Tevi has a positive question. How would you end the Spider-Verse, and would you kill all the spider people?
Not all of them.
No, I don't think we need all of them, right? No. But I don't think you should kill it. It's just
don't talk about them.
Yeah, it's any other. Yeah, it's any other.
Ignore it like various writers would.
It's like any other universe, right? I mean, basically, it's just like you have all these other characters, and like in DC or Marvel in general, right? So spider people are just different. They're just different ones. Like you said, don't talk about them, right? So let's see. All right, so we did our number 5. So next we move on to Nightwing issue 95. So
this is such a forgettable issue because I don't remember what happened in it. It was the Blockbuster. Yeah, we actually got some continuation of that. I like the art. I really like the art. Blockbuster is just like, he's fine. It's just such a forgettable. I know he's like a big Nightwing villain, but he doesn't feel big here.
Yeah, the only major thing that happens when he attacked Haven or whatever it's called, blew it up or whatever. So that was the major thing. But other than that,
Batwoman too. Batwoman, they had that note that she made a mistake not marrying Maggie. So that was Tom Taylor's way of saying remember DC editorial fucked up? Let me try correcting that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Blockbuster, I guess, didn't know that Nightwing was Dick Grayson.
Right. So he finds out. Yeah.
The way that happened was so funny. I like the way the art was, where it just flew into the air. I was like, what?
If you get smashed into the ground, is your mask going to fly that high? His mask is not cloth, right? Isn't it a rubber?
Yeah.
I would hope.
I would hope he glues it on or something. It's crazy.
Right?
It's
but I mean, Nightwing is Nightwing at this point. It just seems like nothing really ever happens in it. Yeah. Blockbuster's been in the series from the very beginning, but he hasn't really accomplished anything. And this issue, he's
Nothing.
just like, I'm done. I'm taking things into my own hands. I'm gonna fire this big bazooka in a town. Why don't you do that from the beginning, man? If you're that angry, you know? And
the sister's now in the know, which I like. Not know, but like she's not hiding anymore, so she's able to fight. So I'll say at least that was progressed a little bit.
Yeah. Just the overall story is the issue, I think. It's just one story, just taking way too long. And I would love to see him do something else, right? Right. Some other characters. I mean, he does all these team ups good. He's got these emotional moments that are really good. But why can't we get more villains besides Blockbuster? And what's going on with Heartless?
For sure. Yeah, they definitely need like a thread of some sort. Because usually, like, this issue had good character moments. The sisters in the know. There's, Maggie Sawyer and Batwoman. Like, there's small moments that are good, but they don't make the whole issue. And it's like, I want a little bit of a stronger direction. Just because the art is so good and like the dialogue work is good. Just like the scripting is not as good as it once was.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I got a question here. How many comics do you buy this week?
How many are you going to buy?
I think I'm getting like 14. I think it was on my list this week.
I'm looking to see how much I have. Let's see. This coming week, if my document wants to pop up, I have 3, 6. I think I have 8 again. I have 8 books. I'm very choosy with my books, though. Like I'm not reading Acts, I'm not reading those stuff. So those tend to fill up when you read a lot of events. Like,
right.
Those are going to fill up your pull list a bit more.
What about you, Brant?
I'm counting.
So there's more than 9.
Yeah, I'm up to 11 so far. 12. I don't know. Like probably around the same as you, Mike. Somewhere around.
Okay. Gotcha. So we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. Hopefully the books will be solid, right? All right. So
that is definitely the hope.
Yeah. Oh God, we gotta talk about this book, Brant. Axe Death to the Mutants.
Oh my goodness.
I'm getting a blanket while you guys talk about this one.
Oh, there's nothing.
It's gonna be a short conversation.
Yeah. You even walked away.
I am so over this narration from this god or whatever it is that's talking through all these books. It's just I'm so bored by it. And this was like the worst of the whole thing so far for me, I think.
This book, yeah. Well, this is an Eternals book more than anything.
Yeah,
and
it was.
And whenever you read the Eternal books, they're always like this. Mm-hmm. That's why I stopped reading them. Yeah. And the only reason why I received this book was because originally it was on my FOC because, I didn't know how the event was going to be. So I'm like, oh, let me, just put it on the FOC. It might be good. And then sure enough, like, honestly, this event for me is the one Marvel event that I truly cannot stand. I mean, I really don't like it. I thought X-Men this past week was a better read. There was a little bit more action in there and whatnot, but the overall event has it's rough. There's too much going on. There's too many characters. No one can like stand out. It's just, I don't know, man. And then I just need to know what the point is. We're going to talk about it later when it comes to the X-Men with another event coming out. But this book was just too much of nothing. It's almost like the Eternals movie where, I mean, I didn't mind that movie, but there's just so much talking. And it's like, don't these people do anything besides talk?
Yeah, it's like because I'm getting my books mainly through DCBS, I have to order like 2 months in advance. So that's why I'm getting like a bunch of books that I probably wouldn't have bought otherwise. But yeah, I agree. There was like X-Men last week was okay, and then I think I told Kat on a previous show the one X book that had Exodus as the central character of the whole issue was good. But aside from that, the rest of this event has been really, really boring.
In most events, with their first issue has one hook where it's like, oh, okay, that could be kind of interesting. I remember reading that first issue, and I told you this, Brant, when we reviewed the first issue. I was like, there was absolutely nothing I liked. There was not one thing I could pick and be positive about. I'm like, and besides maybe the art, I'm like, the art was fine, but the story itself, there's not one thing I was interested in. I was like, nope, not getting it anymore.
Yeah,
that's weird, man. I just never would thought like the Avengers would actually, bring back to life the Celestial that was used as their headquarters, and then right away he's like, "You will all be judged," and it's like, really? Come on,
it's
man.
Like, that kind of blew up in your face.
And they're just all fighting each other, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't know. And I've gotten a little bit of slack on it because it's just like, well, this has been all leading up to more stuff. All the X-Men stuff leads to, but there's too much of it. And that's what it means. Like, in order to understand everything, what's going on with the X-Men and stuff like that, you need to read it all. And it's just it's not interesting for me, you know?
I agree.
Drop it if you could.
What's that?
I said drop it if you can.
I think I'm not going to read any more of these side ones. I mean, except X-Men, because I still read X-Men, and I'll just read the main event because I am curious to see like how it's going to end, and I want to know like what this is going to lead into next. So here's a question.
I was going to say one thing that's interesting about the book is I guess you still read X-Men, but like we're not reading Avengers, we're not reading Eternals. So I feel like the event also doesn't really affect a lot of things we're currently reading.
That's true too. Yeah. None of us are reading those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if Avengers really led into this whole thing. Like, I think they just happened to be like a in-between group. They're just like, here, let's just stick the Avengers in there because they have to be in a major event. They haven't been in an event in a long time. So we got to put them in there to kind of be the middlemen, The question here is, what kind of major event would you like to see in Marvel? This Axe is becoming a shit show.
Something original. I mean, I would say, again, I think the reason I really was surprised by that Venom event from 2 years ago was because it felt different. It felt connected to the series. It felt like it was needed. It felt like the whole world should be there. And same thing for the War of the Realms event with Thor, whereas like, oh, this was built up for like 5 years. It felt like it should be a Marvel event. And it felt like, yeah, the Fantastic Four should help in this situation. And I feel like that's when it's a good event, is when you actually need the whole Marvel universe to be there. And luckily we have had some good events over the past couple of years, but we get a lot of events in a year, like 3 or 4 a lot of the times. We usually get them like once a season, and most of them are like this, where it's just like, oh, we're using a name of something previously that was popular, but there's not an actual direction for it.
Right.
And honestly, like Daredevil is a great example where it actually did spin out of the series, and it wasn't very good. And I was surprised by that. It just felt like, oh, why was this necessary? Just because of the popular comic, they felt like it should be an event.
Right.
Right. I mean, you said it before. It's what makes a good event is the build up to the event, right? And so usually when we had these events once a year, there was always a build up to it, and then the event happens. And you also said with King in Black, look how long Donny Cates built up to that point. The event was the pinnacle of his run on Venom. That was the whole build up, and it became something massive, and that was really enjoyable. Even when you go back to the very first Marvel event, Secret Wars, look at all the things that happened in that. That shook the Marvel universe, right? And it was just like, everything. Like, so many things came out of that, like Spider-Man's black suits. You got the first appearance of Spider-Woman. You got Titania was her first appearance in there. There's just like so many different things that came out of that. What's going to come out of this, right?
No.
I mean, probably nothing. And so I wouldn't even mind if there wasn't an event for quite a while and we built up to something. Whatever that is, I don't know, but they need to do something. I mean, I'm not the creator. They're the creators, but I would love to see just something original or different, and just kind of just slowing the wheels down a little bit and just make good stories and build up to something epic.
Yeah, it'd be really
Oh, you go. Right,
I was just gonna say it'd be really cool, like if in all the books there was just like these little hints, little foreshadowing here and there for like a couple of years, and then all of a sudden this event hits, and you're like, oh, that's what that meant, and that's how that connects, and that's why this is all fitting together. Yeah,
right. Exactly, and I think they used to do that.
yeah.
I think they used to do that in a lot of books.
They
So-
definitely used to. I know like Dan Slott used to do that a lot with like Spider-Man. He'd always have like really Easter eggs that were like 2 years before and then it'd play out. But Tevye says, then again, Marvel lost away with their events with no consequences. See, I am always a devil's advocate person when it comes to Marvel and DC. DC's doing the same thing, except they do it in a way where you think a lot's happening and then nothing actually is affected. Where I think like Doomsday Clock is a great example. When we read that every week or every month, you're like, oh, this feels big for the DC universe. And they like did big things like bring in the Watchmen, but then every other book was never affected by those things. So it didn't matter. So even like Dark Crisis, even though I do like Dark Crisis, obviously a lot more than Axe, and I think it's a fine event. There is this like part of me that just doesn't care because like what is it gonna actually mean? Nothing. Most likely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's a good one. What did you guys think of Secret Wars 2015?
I didn't love it, but at least it did do something.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I thought that was a good event. It was the whole, and that was a buildup because look at the Avengers at that time. Okay, you had the Illuminati that came. There was all these incursions that happened. There was like weeks and weeks of buildup before the final incursion actually happened. And then you get this whole battle world that came together and it was led by Dr. Doom. Like, I liked the concept of the story, the lead into the story. And then Battle World was completely weird. But then when you got the overall story with like how Molecule Man was holding all of it together, and it was just like Lord Doom, Sue Richards at his side. Like, I liked that concept. But again, that was all done by Hickman, right? Yeah. Hickman kind of did the similar thing with, the X-Men. And, we all know how we feel about that. Like, I felt like there was a vision. He planted a lot of seeds, but then he's gone now. And now we get a lot of these writers I don't think know exactly what his vision was, and they can't execute it the way maybe it should have been. You know what I'm saying? So, all right. After a big event, nothing really happens, and then they are saying coming soon, another event. Yeah, Dark Ages was pretty good. Yeah, I mean it was good. It was good. I think until it kind of lost its way in the last couple issues.
Well, when Tom Taylor found out he was an exclusive writer of DC, I think he was like,
Dark Knights of Steel is better.
Oh,
all right.
So much better.
So let's move on then to our number 4. So, Kat, what was your number 4?
My number 4 was Nightwing, where he talked about it.
All right. What about you, Brent?
That was also my number 4.
Yours number 4?
Yeah.
All right. My number 4 was Daredevil issue 650. I like this series second issue better actually than the first one, just because I liked this Goldie character who he used to go to college with, and he supposedly is guardian angel or not. Like, what is he? You know what I'm saying? Is he messing with his head? I liked how he, wound up reuniting with, was it Kirsten? Is it Kirsten?
Yeah.
Kristen Duffy?
Kirsten, yeah.
Yeah. So I wound up how he reunited with her at the end and whatnot. But this guy was like totally messing with him the whole entire time. And I just think he has obviously as much larger role to play in the future. And you don't know if he's good or bad or whatever the case may be. I like the issue. I thought it was pretty cool. And then to see all the nice covers at the end, all 650 of them, in their own pages, it was kind of cool. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
I thought it was okay.
Oh, go ahead,
you liked it more? You liked it, Brant?
No, I enjoyed it. It's the last book I read that like right before we came on the show. Actually, I like that aspect of Goldie. I thought that was really interesting, and on one part of it was like, I hope they're not retconning and kind of explaining why Daredevil is Daredevil, but they kind of wrote themselves out of that corner. So thankfully, but yeah, I thought it was an interesting way to go with the character from his past, that he's got this kind of influence on things going on. It felt a little bit like Unbreakable with Bruce Willis, like the Mr. Glass causing all these accidents and everything. Yeah, so there was that familiarity too. So we'll see where it goes, but like obviously we got the possible marriage that we're going to talk about later.
Everyone's getting married,
right?
Everyone's just getting
except for Mary Jane and Peter.
Except Mary Jane and Peter, but Elektra and Daredevil, I guess, are getting married. Yeah, I know. I thought it was an okay issue. I hate that it was so long because it was this anniversary issue. I think that's the thing I didn't like about it. It was just like, oh, I wish this was just a regular issue. And also, I do feel like this book has lost a little momentum since the event. I'm like, all right, I want to get back into the groove of things. But yeah, I thought it was fine. Not my favorite, though.
So that was our number 4, right? So let's talk about, you guys can talk about it. I did not read this. Dark Crisis Young Justice issue 3.
I liked it. I thought this was better than issue 2. I'm enjoying it. I mean, I don't think it's like the best thing out there, but honestly, I think it's the best thing from Dark Crisis, which is not like, a big competition, but I like that it gets into the psyche of all these characters. You do need to be a fan of these characters to enjoy this, though. There's a lot of deep cuts. So if you've never read Teen Titans before, if you have not read all Teen Titans and all Young Justice, you might be a little lost, which I think is also a detriment to this series. It's like a little bit too nostalgic, where it's like, oh, only hardcore fans can like this. But as a hardcore fan, I'm enjoying it.
I enjoyed it. I disagree with you though. I thought this was the weakest of the 3 issues so far.
Okay.
For me.
I didn't like issue 2 at all. So that's why I felt that way.
I if I remember correctly, I think I did. I don't.
You
remember.
did. I believe you did as well.
So yeah, this one I didn't love as much just because it felt a little formulaic to me, just because they were each, I liked the nostalgia, and I liked that they were revisiting all these past things that happened to them. But I felt like they were all being a little bit stupid, and even not realizing that they're in some kind of, place where they shouldn't be. And they were kind of, being sucked into it a little bit too much for my liking. But it was fine. And I do agree with you. This is the best thing out of Dark Crisis, and I still enjoyed it. It just wasn't my favorite issue.
It's definitely not a 5-star book, but it is, I think, one of the better things from the event.
Cool. All right. So appreciate everybody watching. I just wanted to let you know that we have not talked about the main topics as of yet. We're doing comic books first, and then we're going to be going into the news. So we're currently now talking about Firepower issue 23.
Not much to talk about.
Listen, I've loved Firepower, but it's starting to lose me. There's nothing really going on. They've been dealing with this dragon for the longest time, and there hasn't been much character interaction because the issue is freaking silent. And I don't know, man. Where's it going to go after this dragon is beaten? They've been focusing on this thing forever. And I was a little disappointed with this issue. I was expecting something more. I don't know. What do you guys think?
My least favorite issue thus far. And I hate saying that because I love this series. But nothing happened in this issue.
I don't think it was quite my least favorite, but there wasn't. It was just, fighting, and the one master maybe died. That's about it.
But even the fighting wasn't like, the art was.
It wasn't
fine.
Epic.
It wasn't epic. It was just It felt like the middle of an issue. Like the whole issue felt like just like it could have been a few pages in the middle of an issue. Yeah.
Like I felt like he didn't draw all the characters the way that they should be drawn. A lot of small shadows. Like it just felt very like rushed, and I don't know. I need something more from this again, or I'm going to consider dropping it, So
I'm definitely going to stick with it for a while, but if it's like another like 10 issues of this, I think it'll be dropped soon. But I'm also still reading Stillwater, so I guess I hang on to indie books a little bit more.
Right. I mean, I buy a lot of indie
Yeah.
books, you know, so, and I've
Yeah.
read every single issue of this, but this is nowhere the same book as it was when it first started, you know.
I'm trying to remember that this is Kirkman though, and
Yeah.
he has those stints where like nothing happens for a little bit, and then it really
Yeah.
ramps up. So I'm kind of sticking
just
out
think
for that.
I agree with you, Brant. I just think that in certain books, it works, you know,
Yeah.
with that. For some reason, this should have been like the action scene should have been like a phenomenal action scene. I was like,
Yeah, it was a very quick read. Yeah.
okay. he beat a big dragon, big deal, you know. So I don't know. We'll see what happens though. All right. So let's move on then to number 3. So Kat, what was your number 3?
Mine was Iron Cat, issue 3.
Oh, I forgot all about that.
It was a good issue. It's so interesting because I think I've talked about this at least with Brant, where it's like Black Cat is a very different character in Amazing Spider-Man than she is in this series. But, you know, I just enjoy it. It's fun. It's her going against her ex-girlfriend. There's some good action. This is a great example of how to do action because it is an action issue. So how Firepower tried to do it, they succeed here because there is some good character beats as we're seeing the action.
Yeah.
And the action really shines in this
Absolutely.
issue.
Absolutely. Love the life model decoys, the whole setup in there. This is the best Iron Man book I've read in a very long time because she's teaming up with Tony Stark, and I think he's really good in this issue as well. And I love the team up with them too. It feels like a Black Cat Iron Man team up. Like it should be Marvel team up Black Cat Iron Man instead of Iron Cat, you know, but the artwork is gorgeous. The storytelling is really well. It's witty. It just, again, it gives Felicia more layers. She's just so much more of a character now than she ever has been before. I love her even more now from the way Jed MacKay writes her. And so this is a great book.
And something that's interesting, I think we've talked about this before, but it like compared to some of the other queer relationships we've seen in comics recently that have a highlight, they're not even together. And I feel like there's so much development between the two of these characters where I'm like, I care for them. And I just really enjoy their development and how they're written, the X and Black Cat.
Yeah. So I actually read 14 then because I completely forgot about this book and I did read it. Yeah, no, I love Jed MacKay's handling of Black Cat and all these characters, and I love the history that we're learning about their relationship and the way it's coming to a head, and the involvement of Tony Stark. All of it, everything about this book has been fantastic. You know, and everything he did in Black Cat before it as well. So.
Yeah,
we do have a question from Consensual Sense Slots. What words of encouragement would you give me to continue comic collecting in 2023? I don't read anything and it's taking a bunch of my money. I would say if you don't like single issues, don't read them. Read collections or go to your library and read collections because you can read them for free there.
I'm curious what you spend your money on. Do you just spend money on spec books or do you just buy it and don't read it? Like, is that what's going on? And then,
or you not like it,
right? Or do you think you're going to like it and you just don't read it? So think about a character that you truly like. I'll say Batman for that instance because everyone reads Batman. And if you want to continue collecting comics, then pick 1 or 2 issues and just read those 2 and see if you can fall in love with those 2 comics, and then if you can expand from there, go from there again, you know.
And if you don't like superhero comics, you don't have to read superhero comics.
No.
There's a lot of indie books out there. If there's even stuff that's not in the direct market. Again, you could go to Webtoon, you could go to Kickstarter. There's so many other places you go for Kickstarter, go for comic books and just a direct market if there are books that don't interest you there.
Yeah, I'm curious, like is it almost like a habitual collecting, like, you know, you just been buying these titles forever and you feel like you got to continue to buy them, and that's a different conversation.
yeah that's an interesting spot. I don't think I'd buy comics if I didn't read them.
Yeah, no, me either. That would be a lot of money to spend if I just was looking at them. I'm like, no, I want to read them. It's nice to like collect like, you know, the spec books every once in a while, but I'm there to read the books.
I mean, yeah, I read every single book that I get when all the new books, you know. All right, so let's see. We're on to Brant for your number 3.
Daredevil, which we already talked about.
Okay, cool. All right, and then my number 3 was actually Dark Spaces Wildfire issue 2 from Scott Snyder. I love this concept of a book of these firefighters, or actually where they work for a jail. Is that what it is? They're like,
I think they're from the jail. I think they're
from the jail, and one's in like a correctional officer that's in charge of them, and they go and they want to rob this person's place, steal a bunch of Bitcoin, steal their server and everything, and then some eerie thing they find at the bottom of the basement or whatever when they go at the end of the second issue is kind of creepy. But I love the storytelling, I love the writing, the artwork is really good. I love these characters. I'm looking for more, man. I can't wait to see how this develops.
I didn't pick up issue 2, but
I didn't read it.
I remember yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I didn't read issue 1 initially either, but I wanted to check it out. I forgot about it, and then I wound up getting issue 1 and 2 together, and I read them back to back. And
I'm listening.
Again, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. So good stuff. All right, so we talked about Edge of Spider-Verse, right? Issue 2. So now let's talk about Do a Power Bomb issue 3. I'm gonna kick this one off with Brant, the wrestling guy here.
I'm enjoying this book. You know, from what was it, Murder Falcon? Is that the other book that he
did? Daniel Warren Johnson.
Yeah, that I didn't really feel that one, but this one, you know, it obviously being a wrestling book, it piqued my interest, and then where it veered off to this, like wherever they are, this battleground of, you know, different people from different planets and realms and all this stuff. I was like, am I still going to enjoy this? But this issue I really enjoyed quite a bit. Like, you discover that everywhere else in the universe, wrestling is actually real, and they have to figure out how to actually wrestle now. And I thought that was an interesting dilemma. And I also love, this is just for wrestling geeks like me, but in the newsletter, Daniel shares a match that inspired this book at the end of the letters column and stuff. And every issue so far, he shared a different match. And I thought that's really cool. And it kind of made me, you know, respect his passion for wrestling even more. But I also love that the reveal we got last issue.
Oh God.
Yeah. Right. And now they're both there trying to bring, you know, the girl's mom back. And it's just, and they still don't, you know, she still doesn't know who she's teaming.
Can you imagine once she finds out?
Right.
It's not going to be great.
No.
You know, I think this book has brilliant pacing. I think, you know, we're talking about like Firepower and some other books where it's like sometimes the pacing is so off where you just like lose interest. And there's a lot of comics out there that just kind of, you know, Nightwing's a great example too. It's a great book that lost its pacing. And this has just been so excellent. This is how you do a comic. Every beat, every page is interesting. And honestly, I won't say I don't like wrestling, but I'm not a wrestling fan. I don't like disrespect it, but it's not my thing. I don't think you need to like wrestling to love this book. It's just brilliant. And like we're talking about the dad twist, the way the layouts are, like the tournament double page spread was so
I
cool.
love that. I fucking love that. That was so cool.
Such a brilliant book. It's so good. This is legit. I think is the best book on stands right now. I don't want to even say one of the best. I think it is the best book on stands.
You know, you mentioned that tournament bracket, and being that I'm a tournament director, just love tennis, and I constantly put tournaments together. Just seeing those graphics and stuff like that was just so well done. And this book was great. And it was so crazy because the last show I was on, Brant wasn't on. And that's when Murder Falcon Do a Power Bomb issue 2 came out.
Yeah, you didn't get to read it.
Have it. And Kat was like, you need to read it. Go read it digitally. And I was like, no, I will. I was like, because I love the first issue. She's like, at the end of that second issue is going to blow your mind.
Yeah.
And when I read that end of that second issue, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, right? And then,
I didn't see that coming.
No,
I didn't have issue 3 either.
No.
It didn't have issue 3.
Oh, wow.
I think they only get a couple copies, and by the time I get there, it's gone. So I got to put it on my pull list. So I had to read it digitally again. But that's why I forgot to rank it, because it wasn't in front of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But such a great book. I love how wrestling is real. I thought that was such an awesome twist. And they're facing these baboons or these bamarangs or whatever the heck that they tamarang, whatever they were.
Orangabang, something like that.
Yeah. It was so good, man.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for the next match and where this goes. I think it's a great book. He's a wonderful writer. I mean, he
and
did, like I said,
too.
he did that Murder Falcon. He did the Better Ray Bill series.
Yeah.
And now he's doing this one. He did the Wonder Woman Black Label one too. I didn't read that one, but I think he's an outstanding writer.
I like you were saying, Kat, you don't the part about not having to be a wrestling fan. I love that there's enough in it for wrestling fans, and you get all those little nods to wrestling, but the overall story has very little to do with actual wrestling. It's all about their journey to get Lona's mother back and his his wife back and all that.
And even the sci-fi elements, because that, like you were saying, that could go off the rails and be like, what is this? They're on a different world. And it never does. It feels grounded. It feels like, that makes sense. They're trying to get this, they're trying to get mother/wife back to life. And there's only, if you win this match, and everyone wants to get someone back to life, which is such a cool concept that's played so well in this issue. You could talk about this series for a whole podcast. It's so good. I love comics like this, because I think sometimes we go through the weekly grind. We're like, it was fine. And for all three of us to be so excited for a book and like dig so deep into it. Like, I miss comics like this. Not that they're not out there, but when you find a special comic like that, you hold on to it.
Right.
Yeah. And you look forward to it so much. I mean, that's what's so good about it. That's why I wish more of them were like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are good books, but then there's those elite books. So the books that are at higher level. Like, you can just tell, you know?
For sure.
All right. So did we all do our number 3? Yes, we did our power bomb. So now we're going on to number 2. So Brant, I'll start with you this time. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Iron Cat. I had to like redo my rankings real quick, but that would be my number 2.
And what about you, Kat?
Mine's Dark Crisis, Young Justice.
Gotcha. My number 2 is a book that you guys don't read. It's Barbaric Axe to the Grind, issue 1. It's another independent book from, is it Aftershock? I think it is. I think it's Aftershock. This book is a little vulgar. It's a little gory, but it's like it's not like X-rated as in like nudity or anything, but it's like a naughty version of Thor, right? This guy, he's a barbarian. He's cursed. His name is Owen. He has an axe that lusts for blood. Huh?
I think it's Vault.
Vault. Yeah, okay. He has an axe that lusts for blood. He's cursed with this axe, and it gives him permission to kill. And when he kills with this axe, the axe like drinks all the blood. It's funny this way. But it's it's very comical book in a certain way. And this is the second volume of this story. And we get to see the cast of characters come together. They fight these vampire giants in the beginning. They're literally giants, but they're vampires, right? It was just absolutely hysterical what they did to chop up these giants. And then the main mission comes into play towards the end, where they come across a longtime nemesis of them, and they're going to go after them. This has great characters, great supporting cast characters as well. Something completely different. I really love this book. It's another book that makes me laugh, and I don't know, it's just enjoyable. But for people that have read this book, they probably understand what I'm talking about and probably will enjoy it. So yeah, if you haven't picked it up yet, I'd say go ahead and pick it up. But this is a fun book, definitely.
Cool.
All right. So let's see. We got BDG says, this was the first issue of Barbaric I've read. Wasn't really a fan, honestly. I think I like Beware the Eye of Odin more. And that's perfectly fine. Like I said, sometimes certain things when they go with gore and maybe cursing and stuff like that might not be for everybody, but I liked it. So, all right. Now we move on to
Number one.
Yeah, because we talked about everything else. Well, Kat, what was your number one?
Do a power bomb. So obvious. It was like number two was like a 3.5 star. That was like almost a 5-star book. So good.
And Brant?
Same. Do a power bomb.
Yeah. So I told you guys that this wasn't on my countdown, and this would be my number one by far. I actually had True Colt as my number one originally, just because I thought it was something different. Like I said, it made me laugh. But Do a Power Bomb would definitely be in that number one slot. Because after I did a video earlier in the week, and I'm like, oh man, I forgot freaking Do a Power Bomb. I'm like, what's up with that? So yeah, but great book, man. Second to none there. All right, so that's all the comic books, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
So
do we want to do most anticipated or do the news first?
Let's do the news and then we'll do most anticipated after. We do have our Kickstarters to talk about too. So let me screen share mine, and then Brant could talk about his. He has how many days you have left on yours? Very few.
61 hours to go right now.
61 hours, so not even days anymore.
Friday.
Friday. Mine I have until next Thursday. So it's the dancer. She's a dancer / assassin. When she was little, she witnessed her parents being murdered in front of her and never dealt with that trauma until now. Like I said, we have about a little over a week and we're over our goal, but we have a lot of stretch goals, especially $6,500. We get a cool crossover print between me and my business partner, Phil. So that'd be cool. We have, extra comics, trading cards and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys can go support. I'll share that in the comments.
Cool. Yeah. And there's mine, Steampunk Carol, festive Nutcracker retelling. So if you're a fan of the Nutcracker and the Mouse King, this is that story told in steampunk style. Again, ends Friday, 61 hours to go. Still got a little bit of ways to go, but it looks like we've unlocked a milestone bonus, which I'll get down here, is adding some indie comics. There we go. So we just hit that recently within the past hour or so, but there's some of the pages. You can check it out on the page. You can find it at lasttimberpress.com/Carol. I'll drop the link in the notes as well. Or you can search a Steampunk Carol on Kickstarter. But if you're into gorgeous art and steampunk Christmas themed stories, this will be right up your alley. It's an 86-page graphic novel, first graphic novel that we've done. So go check it out.
And as we mentioned earlier in the show, there's so many Kickstarter books that are going to the direct market. If you're a collector, a lot of these Kickstarter books are probably higher in value because it's actually the first edition. And, just show so many quality books are out there on Kickstarter. So if you're afraid like, oh, there's not quality books on Kickstarter, there are plenty of quality books that actually end up in the direct market that you later will read. So why not try getting an advance and getting a special edition and helping out, obviously, the creator make these books come true. Now, let's get into the news. Now, question for Brant and Mike. Do you want to start with the main topic? Do we want to go through the other news first? What do we want to do there?
I'm fine with starting with the main topic. That's fine.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Let's do the main topic then. There's actually two parts to this main topic. We're going to talk about the two news pieces that told us about this or inspired the news topic, and then we'll actually talk about the question that we're in telling you guys. So first up, let's start talking about Iron Man's new writer, which is Gerry Duggan, one of our favorites. We like a lot of Gerry Duggan titles here. I'm excited to read more Iron Man, but what sucks about Iron Man is there's always like a really good start for him and then never like continues to be a great series. Because I mean, the Tom Taylor series was great, but it ended too early. We love the Chris Cantwell series for a good like 6 issues or so, and then we all dropped off of it. So I'm curious to see if Gerry Duggan will let us in, will we love it? We liked Marauders for a very long time, and he was on that, but that also dipped a little bit. So I'm curious to see what this is going to be all about.
It's like as soon as he gets another project, it's like, oh, I don't care about the book. So how long is he gonna? It's like until he gets another project, it's like Iron Man might be pretty good. I mean, listen, I'm excited for a new Iron Man book, and if we can get a good direction with Iron Man, hopefully we'll get a lot more Iron Man readers out there. I just think Iron Man is he's become such a staple character because of the MCU now. I think you need a top tier writer on Iron Man. I just remember in the past, like Iron Man was like B level, wasn't he? I mean, before the MCU, right?
Sure.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think it's very important to get a good writer, get a good story here. And I think based off of what I remember reading, I guess he's going to be going against some kind of formidable foe that's going to beat him down pretty hard.
Yeah, and he's also like, he doesn't have as much money or anything, so they're kind of doing the Bruce Wayne treatment to him. He's lost a lot, and he's
right
bare minimum, rock bottom kind of thing. So fighting up from the bottom, which is not a usual place you find Tony Stark. So that could be interesting as well.
Mm-hmm. They said, of course, they're going to bring back some traditional armors that maybe you've seen in the past, which is a lot of fun. And I feel like I could be wrong since we didn't read the whole Cantwell series, but did we not get enough different Iron Man armors in that series? At least up until the point I read it to.
That's a big problem with Iron Man is that they think, oh, let's give him a new armor. That's going to change everything and make him great. It's like, yeah, no, it's cool to see a new armor, but that's not the point. I want to see a good story.
I like new armor, but I like seeing like different armors like sprinkled along the way. You know what I'm saying? Just like, oh, let me use this armor for an issue, or let me use that armor for an issue. Yeah. I don't need a brand new armor. I just love to see all the different stuff, because knowing Tony Stark, like that's what he does. He builds a whole bunch of, things to use.
It's like when he's fighting the Hulk, he pulls out the Hulkbuster armor, that kind of thing. So it's like, oh, for this job, I need to pull this one out. So, put that one on and that kind of thing. Yeah, I agree with that.
I think the last really good Iron Man run we had was
Tom Taylor's, in my opinion.
No, not even Tom Taylor, but just
Matt Fraction.
Yeah, it was Fraction's run. That was a really good run on Iron Man.
Well, that was a long run too. Yeah. So it was like, oh wow, like every issue was good, and no, that was the best Iron Man run. There's no.
That's when we got Pepper as when she became
Rescue,
and stuff like that. That was a really good run.
But then we got
that was perfect. Yeah.
And then we got what?
We got the rings.
Oh, who wrote that again?
That was is it Kieran Gillen?
Yeah, it was Kieran
Gillen. Kieran Gillen.
Yeah, that's right.
For sure.
I did not read it. I'm glad from what I heard. It did not seem like my cup of tea, but hopefully this is good. The other thing we want to talk about, and then we'll go into again the kind of bigger topic, is that Geoff Johns is now writing a JSA series, and I believe Stargirl is getting her own series too, or at least she's going to be a big part, which is not, a surprise. I'm interested. I think this is the right person to do it, just because, he's the only one who's written like a really good JSA series and rebirthed the JSA. But is it too late? They've been teasing JSA for so long. It's like, do we care anymore? I'm interested, but I'm also not a hardcore JSA fan. I love Stargirl, but JSA is like, okay, I hope it's good.
I'm not a huge JSA fan either, but it'll be cool to see a different type of book, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we got what, Power Girl's in the JSA, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know if she's in this volume, but she usually is.
It would be cool if she is. We haven't seen her in forever. Like, we haven't seen a lot of characters in so long. So I think just to pick up something different, it would be a treat. And being that Geoff Johns is writing it, I'm going to pick it up regardlessly, because I think that's what DC needs. They need some writers that can write something that's truly meaningful these days, you know?
But also he's had a run on JSA. Has he told all his stories? Like, is it just like, oh man, you're getting the same person to tell the same type of stories?
Maybe. I don't know.
Just as a devil's advocate.
Yeah,
but I do think he'll write good stories.
Yeah. I'm just excited to see some of these characters back. And like you said, Mike, something different. I'm excited for this. From this article, it looks like there's a 6-issue Stargirl miniseries called The Lost Children. So that's what the first thing is going to come out. Yeah, so I'm excited for that too. I've really gotten into Stargirl through that TV show. So and I remember like before the New 52, there was a run on JSA that I enjoyed. That was really the only JSA I've ever read. So I'm looking forward to this. I hope it's something special. So time will tell.
So bigger question, do you feel like moves like this is a new direction for DC and Marvel? We do have a couple other creative teams we'll talk about as the time goes on. Yeah. My answer is no. I don't think it is, but I'm hoping there's better runs and hopefully there's good books. Like I know, Mike, you weren't here for this, but I loved Mary Marvel. I thought that was a great series, something different, something new, and I want to see more runs like that. And I'm hoping, this is a telltale sign that we'll get that.
I think.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I think this might be an attempt for DC to go in a different direction, because whatever's going on there, it's not working. There needs to be a change. There's a problem there. So they need to get somebody there that's going to write stories that we talked about it already. Next level stories, right?
Do a power bomb stories.
Yeah, you can't just have Batman, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just, you can't. You need to do something else that's going to grab the attention of fans. And it can't be, I'm just going to say it not to be mean, but it can't just be all about people being gay or lesbian or whatever. Like every single book seems to be about that these days, And it's like, I have no problem with it, but okay, we accept the fact, right? We've done that. Now that these characters are in there, write good stories with them, Stop trying to search for a headline.
To definitely, to piggyback off of that, as a queer person, and I've talked about this before, it's just like, exactly, you're not doing a service if it's just for the headline. Tell a good story with these characters, because it's just like, I would love to see a great trans character, love to see a cool non-binary character, love to see a good bisexual character, but don't, you're not doing a service if it's like, oh, we're just doing it for that one issue and then they're there and then that's it, because we wanted to make books. I'm hoping like Tim Drake, he's getting his own ongoing. I'm hoping like a series like that, he's getting enough room to tell his full story about like being bi, and not obviously that just being a part of it, but like, telling a side of like what it's like to be a bisexual person, but then also telling a really good Tim Drake story. And I think that hopefully DC will give enough room for that. Right. I agree. I hope it tells good stories in that regard.
Fine, you're bisexual, so that's cool. Just go back to doing what you did before. Kick some ass. You know what I'm saying? It's just like you can intertwine both.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like, you don't have to make it like this love story, like Superman, like Superboy, I should say, or John. Like for me, it seems like it's just a love story, and it's just like, I don't know.
I love love stories. I think they're great. I don't think it's so far a strong love story, because again, like Superman, like I know, because like think about it, Superman is a lot of times just a love story, because you get like Lois Lane and Clark Kent, and that's okay. I love love story, I think it's good, but it does sometimes, it usually intertwines with Superman doing something, or like this is a bigger event, and they just need to do the same thing with John.
Play.
Exactly, and John needs the same thing. Like the romance should be a play. Like, of course, we want to see. Like, I want to see the romance. I would love to see a same-sex romance or a bisexual romance. Like, that's great. But then you have to have other things involved too, and intertwine 100%. Yeah, right? And again, like a bisexual experience is different than a straight experience. But then, like, it's just a balancing act. I think it's like you do want to see the queer experience, but you have to tell a solid story around it. And I think. again, I'm trying to think. There was a Black Cat is a great example of it. I think Black Cat is doing such a freaking good job where it's very queer. It's very much about her and her ex-girlfriend, but there's other stuff going on. It's a really, really good story. So you're getting this really good balancing act of like, cool, I get this really cool queer character telling queer stories, and then you get this really cool Iron Man story or Iron Cat story. And I wish more books are like that.
Exactly. And like I said, it adds layers to her because you're finding out this past, but yet there's still this overall story that's going on because, you know, she killed Black Fox and then the ex is trying to get revenge on her. So that's a story right there. But then when you just get a bunch of nothing going on, it's just like you get bored of it. You need to move on. You need to, you know, go somewhere else with it, you know? And I think that's my frustration. Like, and I just think like DC just needs to get back to just, you know, writing great stories, have all these characters be what they want to be. That's great. I have no issues with that, but we need to get past that and get back to great epic storytelling again. And that's, I think, where they're lacking.
For sure. So yeah, I mean, Brant, did you have any other things to add about the direction of Marvel and DC before we move on to the next thing?
I mean, I don't think just changing creative teams is going to change the entire direction of the company, right? I think, like you guys both said, I think you'd need to just explore different types of storytelling here and there and kind of mix it up a little bit and not just give the same thing. And it's kind of rare when we see like major creative team shakeups that completely change the company. I going back to Geoff Johns with the Green Lantern stuff, you know, or Bendis with the Avengers stuff and things like that really changed the whole landscape. But just changing a creative team, it's going to be good for that book. I don't know that it's going to completely change the direction of the company or not. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, for sure. I definitely agree with that. All right, well, let's move on to some other stuff. I'm going to move on to the media stuff. Those are kind of the two big comic stuff. There's a lot of comic stuff to talk about, so I'm going to media doesn't have as much. So one is that Dragon Ball Z joins Fortnite. There was a lot of Dragon Ball Z conversation in the comments. Believe it or not, I saw 30 minutes of that movie because I had to for work. But it's not my thing. But Dragon Ball Z, I mean, great. Fortnite's, you know, I think they're just trying to keep the brand going, and why not add them?
Yeah, I'm not a Dragon Ball Z fan. My brother was growing up. It was never really my thing, but I am a Fortnite guy, and I love the way that they've incorporated it. They've done something different with Dragon Ball that they've done with any other crossover promotion that they've done, and they've created like an entire new screen, an entire set of challenges, and you can use the Kamehameha wave, and it's really powerful. And I've won a battle royal with that. Which was pretty cool. I got a crown for it. And you can also like ride this Nimbus cloud all over the place. So it's really cool. That's what cool. They're doing with it. Yeah, it's some cool effects and cool things that you get through defeating the challenges and stuff. So it's one of their better cross promotion things that they've done.
That's cool. I watched Dragon Ball Z when it first came out, at least here. And I always loved it. So, you know, obviously Fortnite's just still capitalizing and doing what they want to do. And I think playing as those OP characters, I think that's pretty neat, man. Yeah. It's awesome. Can you play as like Vegeta and stuff like that too?
Yeah. You can get skins for all of them, and they're in 2D too. So like a lot of the Fortnite characters, they're more that 3D look, but they do have some animation characters, and the Dragon Ball Z ones are definitely the 2D kind. Yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, nice.
That's cool. Yeah. We did have a real quick comment here, Kat. What I might think is the problem with current comics is why aren't they focused on multiple things happening? I believe the writers only want to tell one type of story arc, which is super sad, right? I mean, I kind of agree with that because you do see a lot of stories now where their run is just one decompressed story, where writers in the past wrote many story arcs, and then if it was a much larger event, it built into that. So I feel like there's a lot of comics that way today. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just like, again, back in the past, we just had we had one writer on a book. And,
that, and also I think the storytelling was so different. Like if you look at what changed comics, I mean, from like the storytelling point of view of like Marv Wolfman and Chris Claremont, what they did was do soap opera stories within comics. They're like, well, you could have multiple arcs happening and they could continue within arcs. Like this,
Right.
you know, let's say let's say Dick Grayson is dating Starfire, but wants to break up with her. That might not happen in that story arc, but the seeds are planted throughout these story arcs. Say, okay, he might break up with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the soap opera element of comics or at least in superhero comics, have disappeared a little bit. And it's so weird because people would think that's something that shouldn't happen. That's like girly soap opera. But that's actually what made comics good, was making these elements of soap opera. And I think that's what's kind of missing in comics right now, is that element. And I think that's why we love Do a Powerbomb. Because it is a soap opera. It's about, oh, my dad actually killed my mother. You know, it's like these really big, extreme storylines that have this heavy hit that seeds are planted early on. And I think that's what's been missing for a while.
It's interesting because going back to wrestling, because you mentioned Do a Powerbomb, it's kind of the same way there. Mm-hmm. Like, and some people complain about it. Like WWE it's like half storyline, half wrestling. And that's why you have some fans that just want the wrestling, other fans that like the story. And I like a balance. I like there to be enough story to get me invested in the wrestling, you know? So, and it's kind of the same way. It's always been compared to like a soap opera with action and tights and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And comics are very similar in that way, where you need both. You don't want just wall-to-wall action every single issue. That's going to get boring after a while. You need that story. You need that drama.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. 100%. And it's just, you also saw writers just stick around, though, in titles a lot longer. And I think now it makes it more challenging. And that's why we have different volumes, because it's just like you don't see writers stick around on a title anymore.
I think pay is probably a big issue. I think it's like, you know, why we get to see with Substack, though, like, why did these writers leave? Is because like, oh, they can make a lot more money off of something like Substack than maybe staying on a book so long. So I think maybe Marvel and DC gave even more money that would make those creators stay. But then they did the same thing with like Bendis, and they had that time where there were so many exclusive contracts and they're throwing money at one person. So there has to be a balancing act with that too.
Right. Yeah, we got a super chat there.
Yes. And actually, we were going to talk about this anyways, but we could talk about it now. Supreme Omega on the Fantastic Four. Are you excited for the new creative team? Because I feel like Fantastic Four needs a fresh direction after Slott was on the book for 4 years. I love that's a great example of someone staying on a book for a long time, really, for the most part, being a great book. Like, besides that last arc, I really enjoyed Fantastic Four. Ryan North, I believe, did the Power Pack story. I don't remember.
He did.
He did. Okay,
Unbeatable Squirrel Girl too.
Squirrel Girl, yeah.
Squirrel Girl. Yep. I'm interested to see his voice, and because I really liked his Power Pack a lot, and I could see that being good for Fantastic Four. And they're going to the roots of like really digging into individual characters, which is cool.
Yeah, it's also interesting. His voice on a more traditional style artist. It's Ivan Coelho. And I knew the name, I couldn't remember, but I looked up some of the art, and it's like absolutely gorgeous art, but it's more like that classic comic art. So it's going to be interesting to see Ryan North's voice with that kind of art, which I don't recall seeing that. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm intrigued by this team for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious also. I mean, like I said, you know, I know some people are not fans of Dan Slott, so you know his run is over, but you know, he was on there for 4 years, and it's like we just talked about. You don't see that anymore. Like, you know, he did Iron Man for a little while, and then he did Fantastic Four. He did Spider-Man forever. You know, you just don't see that. And it seems like he's the only one that seems to stick around on a title when he's on it, you know.
But he's also one of the only big two creators that hasn't had a creator-owned book.
Right. So that's like he's like a Marvel guy. It's just like I'm gonna be here until they kick me out of here. You know, it just seems like that. And, you know, and I think it does make it harder because it's just like, all right, well, we're going to put, you know, we're putting Zeb Wells on Spider-Man, but he already did the other X-Men title. And it's just like, and then in 2 years, we got to find somebody else to cover Spider-Man. It makes it hard. But when you had, like, back in the day, Spider-Man, when you had Michelini write it, how many years did that guy write the title? He wrote it forever, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like when the book has that writer, you don't have to worry about that book anymore. And I don't know. But yeah, you're probably right, Kat. It probably has to do with pay and has to do with sales numbers. And it's just more political these days, editorial driven. So, you know, it makes a difference.
That comment you flashed a minute ago, Kat, by Mike Manhattan. That's a good point, though. Not everyone has years of stories to tell. So I mean,
that's a lot to ask for. For one character.
You gotta be really.
I don't know if I would want to be on a character for years and years and years. And like, it's a lot.
I mean, that might be part of the issue, though, too, because when we look at those original writers, like the comics weren't as old then. There was a lot of things that you could tell with a character. Nowadays, there's been so much stuff that has been done. Mm-hmm. It's like, where do you go with a character like Spider-Man, Captain America, the X-Men, all these characters that have been around for 50, 60 years? It's like, what new story can you tell? And that's what makes it so challenging. And that the also doesn't, you know, piss off the fans as well.
And editorial approves it.
Right. There's a lot of hurdles to jump. So I feel like it's a lot more challenging. And that's why in ways we like independent books more, because these books are fresh. These are new characters, and it's easier.
There's also no editorial. It's just their story.
It's easy for the creators to tell the story that they want to create. So, you know, that's why there's that draw.
With creator-owned books, a lot of times, even your favorite big-time creators actually put their own money to make these books. These Image books where you think, oh, Image is paying for them, they pay for those books before they pitch it. And they're like, or at least the first issue, they're like, oh, this is what I have. I paid for the artist. I paid for this. So they also have money invested in these books, where Marvel, it's like they get the paycheck and like it's it's not creator owned by any means. They own nothing. So I think it's also just like, you know, the pride as well. Tevye says not every comic's political. I think Mike meant by political is in like business political.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like within politics within the company, not
exactly
political in that sense. But also like if a comic is talking about society, it's political, but I think everyone has a different meaning for the word political. Sure. But let's get into, again, this is also some big stuff. We're going to talk about HBO Max as a whole and like the Discovery situation. We did learn actually just a few minutes ago when we were on that Discovery Plus and HBO Max are going to become the same thing, which I think we all knew. Nexstar is taking over CW, so that pretty much means CW is going to be gone and probably be reruns. The guy from Superman, one of the sons, left. So who knows where that's going to go. There are no plans for more Young Justice. And then also yesterday or today, it was announced that the animated show from Bruce Timm and Greg Rucka is not happening. It might be shopped around a different place. Now, one question I have, and after I've read this and been digesting all this information, this is a time for cable to come back. Because I remember it's true, because think about it. So the Batman the Anime series, you're like, it's not canceled. We're going to shop it around. Where are they going to shop that around to? Probably something like Cartoon Network. So I think that's interesting. Should some of these shows drop off, let's say Harley Quinn, which is still a very popular show, would like TBS take it over? Would these other channels take them over? And will we go back to network television? Because streaming is literally taking things off their network. Like their Infinity Train's a popular show, and they erased it off the HBO Max server, and they won't have DVDs coming out. So it's this big question of like, did HBO Max kill streaming?
You know, I've been saying, I think I did a video recently on this whole topic when it comes to streaming in general. There are so many different streaming services now. And being that, yeah, I did, because Disney Plus is raising their prices, and now you can get a tier with ads and stuff like that. It's becoming to the point now where there's all these different streaming service, and you get this one and this one and this one. It gets expensive. And then if you want the lower tier one, you got to watch fucking commercials. Wasn't that whole point of streaming to begin with? Was when you watched it, you were like, wow, I pay for this service and I don't have to watch commercials. Now it's just like watching cable again, and you have to pay for all these different ones. It's getting very expensive, but you do make a good point there though, Kat. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, you're going to have HBO Max and Discovery come together. So what's that going to cost, once they merge? Because Discovery, I think, is only $5 a month, but HBO is, how much is that a month?
Like
it's at 9, least 10. Yeah.
10.
I thought it was the more expensive one of the services.
I'm not sure.
No, with Discovery also, if you don't know, Discovery Plus is mostly like Food Network and shows that are really cheap to make. They're very much reality shows, HGTV. And you can tell that's exactly what they're trying to do. They've canceled so much. They canceled so much television. It's just like, are you only going to do reality shows now? Like, is that it? Because John Oliver, like, he's been really like hitting it hard with HBO Max, saying, oh, this, he's been criticizing it. And even though he's on HBO Max, I think he's one of the only people who could do it because he knows he's so safe. He's a cheap show that's popular on HBO Max. That's a variety show.
Was it 16?
$16. I get it for free because I have, well, not free, but we have HBO. So you automatically get HBO Max with it.
You see this comment here? Apparently the reason they took these shows off HBO Max is so they don't have to pay residuals to the cast and crew.
Not surprised.
Yeah, not surprised, but that sucks.
No one wants reality shows. Have to speak for yourself. Okay.
There are a lot of people that watch them. That's why they keep making them.
And also, again, they're cheap. And there's like, think about it. Like, what's one of the most popular shows on television right now? The Bachelor.
Yeah.
Cheap to make, makes a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Any variety show, any cooking show, all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's all very popular.
They're gonna do anything right now, probably to save money, cut costs, and basically strip down Warner Brothers and probably DC Comics and do whatever and just start from scratch again. It's probably what they're going to do.
I think that's what they're trying to do. I don't know, because like it is like feels like such weird moves, because like that Batman show, okay, look at Disney Plus, because they're trying to rival that. I'm sure they got the new X-Men 92 show that's I'm sure gonna be very popular for them. We'll see. Batman was gonna rival that, probably do better than that. And then there's like, nah, this show that would have done really well for us, we're just not gonna do. And BDG, Hell's Kitchen is legit one of my favorite shows of all time.
Dude, so I watch it every season.
Me too. I love Hell's Kitchen to death. So love Hell's Kitchen. One of my favorite shows. Can't wait until it comes back. But yeah, no, that was just an interesting move. Some people were talking about Young Justice. The only note I have about Young Justice, because everyone knows I don't like the newest seasons. I think it's interesting that they always end on a cliffhanger. And now this time they're probably going to get canceled again and have another cliffhanger. But yeah, I don't know where it's going to go. My only show that I feel really worried about that I will truly miss is Harley Quinn. It's such a good show. People actually watch it, and I'm sure it will get canceled. But then again, like that could be a show where that's picked up somewhere else. It probably won't be, but it could be.
Absolutely. It's probably has to do with obviously cost, money, all kinds of stuff. I mean, they just been canceling things left and right, so we'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on it? Because this is such a big topic and we could go on forever. But any other thoughts on that?
The CW thing though is wild too, though, when you think about it. Like it's gonna become it. I mean, they mostly play reruns anyway. Like when you look at all their daytime TV, the only time that they never did was during prime time, from 8 to 10 o'clock, right? It's the only time they played pretty much brand new shows.
Yeah,
so it's like
most of those have ended or are going to end soon. Yeah,
right. So then they're like, well, just take these 2 hours and now fill it up with more reruns.
And again, look at Superman. Very much the way of G4.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of cops on that channel. But yeah, look at Superman now. That was the one show where you're like, oh, that'll probably survive. And now like they're making stuff have happened where the one of the leads have left. I think because of his own mental health, but it's just whoa, crazy. That's gonna be another shakeup for the CW. And Riverdale's ending. Not that Riverdale's the gold standard, but people do watch it and it's still, highly rated show. So at least for them. All right, let's go into some comic news. So first up, this is actually announced today. Well, not first up, but like 12th up. We got Monica Rambeau actually getting an ongoing series. And I don't know much about Monica from the comics, so I'm interested to read it. But again, what we're talking about from like a DC standpoint, like why is there only the same characters doing the same things? It's cool that Monica's getting her own series and we could like follow her and maybe learn new things about her. Obviously, it's because of the movies, but still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool, though. The MCU made her relevant again, which I think is really cool because she is a cool character. I don't know a whole lot about her either, but I've read like a handful of Avengers and other books where she's appeared and that kind of thing. And I think she is an interesting character that they just haven't done a whole lot with. So I'm going to try it out.
And that's the one difference between Marvel and DC. They will try other characters, whereas DC will focus on Batman. And we say it every week almost. When are they going to come out with more books that is not revolving Batman or the Bat family? And I get it. That's where your money is made right now. But if you want a more variety of an audience, you need to create other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think Webtoon, they're doing a great job with that. They started with Batman, but shockingly enough, they of course have a Batman spinoff, but they're doing like Zatanna and Vixen and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
That's cool.
Let's get into some Nightwing. We got Nite-Mite debuts in Nightwing. He's cute. Other than that, that's all I have to really say about it. That's it. And I don't know what this is all about, but
what is he? Like,
he's just like a little cartoon character.
But it's a Nightwing version. Yeah, right.
All right. Let's see, because we need that in the Nightwing book.
I would rather a mini series of Nite-Mite than have it in the Nightwing book, because then it's like, oh, you can aim that for kids. You can aim that for kids, and that'd be fun.
And then what it's going to do is it's going to slow down again the story of what's going on in Nightwing, so we can mess around with this guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We'll see what happens. I think it's a first appearance, so watch out. Poison Ivy's getting more issues, so is kind of a Batman character, but I didn't like this series. I actually dropped it.
I've enjoyed it. It's not like my favorite series, but I've enjoyed it. It's been fun.
So they say that the sales are up for it, right? So that's why they're like doing more issues. But did you look at all the variant covers that are out for that book?
That's why, there's some good variant covers.
People are buying those variants. That's why the sales are up. Yeah. I'm just being dead honest. Some of those variants are gorgeous, right?
You're right. I've been getting I think they've got Jenny Frison variants. That's what I've been buying. So,
yeah, they are gorgeous. And I read the first and second issue, and I just, for some reason, I couldn't get into it.
I understand that. Yeah.
It's a shame because I do like the character.
But I'm still buying the book because of those variants.
Yeah.
Next up is this is really big news from 2 weeks ago. Valiant is only releasing one book. So, those rumors that things aren't going as well, I think might be true because there's only one book out.
Sure sounds like it.
The second time, maybe? Second time they could be going under? Oh, that would suck, man.
They started off so strong, too.
No.
I think the pandemic really hurt them, though.
Yeah,
for sure. No, it's definitely a shame because I think it goes back to also they didn't have as much variety of books as they used to. They were releasing a lot of different types of book in the beginning, and then we just got a lot of bloodshot after the movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they have potential.
Next up is John Stewart, who's getting his own one shot. Cool.
Pass.
Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed anything
it continues off of the last story of what he became. And it's just like, I don't need to read a one shot about that. And I'm tired of John Stewart, man. Like, I love John Stewart, right? I like the character. but why can't we get the other characters? That's the one thing that I liked about Dark Crisis was, oh, look, there's other Green Lanterns out there. Like, we got to see them. And I was so excited about that. And it's just like, and then we just get this book about John Stewart. I'm like, God dang, there's so many other lanterns out there. Why can't we explore them again?
And some newer too, because we were just talking about like queer characters that you wish had more story. Jo is a great example of that. They introduced her and then didn't really do much with her after, and especially within the Green Lanterns.
She was in that Green Lantern story. She was
in the other one.
With the Teen Lantern. They were in there. Those three were in there.
But now as we get to the future, it's like, again, we're getting to see more John Stewart.
But where's Kyle Rayner? Where's Hal Jordan? Where's Jessica Cruz?
Jessica, Simon, all of them.
Just like all these other Green Lanterns, Kilowog, like, where are they all, man? It's like, I was the guy that was a fan of the whole Lantern Rainbow. Like, I loved the reds, the yellows. Like, we haven't even seen Sinestro in a long time. Like, this is what I'm talking about. DC is missing all this great stuff. And I know people would read it if they publish some of this stuff again, but I guess you got to find people to write it too.
They also have to feel big, like when they relaunch Green Lantern, they should make it like feel like an event, be like, this is important. We need books like that again. Next up is new direction for Star Wars titles. Are you guys still reading Star Wars? What's going on with that?
So ever since like the War of the Bounty Hunters, like, it's all crossing over with every single book. Now they're doing this other event that's called, like, what is it? Crimson Dawn or something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah. And so now it went from an event to event. So all these things are crossing over, and I stopped reading it because of that. It's too expensive to read all of it. It's just too much. And I stopped reading it. So now they say that it's going to go in a new direction for readers, but it's still going to cross over in all the books.
Yeah. It's like a different set in a different time too, right? Like, it's after Empire or after what is it after? It's after something.
I forgot. I can't remember
either.
Error, but I forgot what it was. Yeah.
But I think I dropped all of them too. I was reading Obi-Wan and Darth Vader were the only two I was still reading, and I think I fell off both of those as well. I'm trying to find where it's set after Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. So
okay.
I mean,
so it's in between Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, I almost wish they'd just like do something completely fresh, new characters. Go into the extended do something universe. Different. Yeah.
I mean, I just wish that too, that maybe, do you need like 5-6 books of Star Wars? I don't know.
I don't think so.
Or if you do have them, just do like their own stories. They don't have to cross over in every single book.
Yeah. It was a fun idea for bounty hunters, but it wasn't a great story, unfortunately. I don't think I finished it. Yeah. It was very long.
Yeah. Right.
So next up is that Miles Morales is getting a team-up book with Peter, which is always cool. I like that. They're just doing it because of the movie, but
does it look like it? I thought it looked like a kid's book when I looked at it, though.
It's called Double. Yeah, it is actually a kid's book, so that sucks.
I mean, for us maybe, but I think for younger audience, I think that would be cool. Like, if you go to the comic shop and you're like, hey, check this out. You got a Miles and a Spider-Man book. You want to read this? I mean, that could be good. And I think Marvel needs more of that type of stuff.
It's true. I will be devil's advocate on that. That I actually went to like a young adult panel thing for work for San Diego. And a lot of the people there were mentioning that the reasons we don't have as many single issues for kids is because kids don't go to the comic book store as often. They do read comics. They just read it differently. Again, they're reading Webtoon, or they're going to a library and getting graphic novels, or they're going to Barnes and Nobles and getting graphic novels. And I think that's why we're not, whose phone was ringing? Mine. But I think that's why we're not getting as many single issues. And maybe we shouldn't be getting as many single issues, because I don't know if kids are going to buy that. I think I'd rather them invest that time in getting other places.
I would almost like to see. It's not going to happen, but I would like to see like they have the Archie digest at the checkout. Like do some Spider-Man, some kid stuff in the checkout.
Yeah, that all goes back to like how we were kids. Like we checked out comic books not at a comic shop, right? In the beginning, we got our shops at the drugstores, at grocery stores, gas stations, and that's where those books need to be, where kids are all the time, to where we're like, oh, you're in the car. Let's, if you want something to read, I'll get you this comic book, you know?
Kids are not going to the comic book store unless they know someone who likes comics. Like my dad liked comics his whole entire life, so I knew about the comic book store and I went there. But if you don't have some connection to the comic book store, you're most likely not going there. So I think that's why I'm like, I rather them invest it somewhere else. As much as I think single issues are important, I don't think it is for the kid market anymore.
I agree.
All right, going into Edge of Spider versus who's our comment?
Sorry.
Drugstores, gas stations. I'm 27 and I've also called drugstores, gas stations, and still remember getting comics from there. So
I'm 47, man. So it's just like those comic books were there back then.
They honestly were. They were like they had Archies. Honestly, like pretty recently, I feel like they
still have Archies in the grocery store.
I think they still have Archie Digest. Yeah,
they still have them in there.
They're in Walmart.
But shit, I mean, when I was a kid, I went to Jersey when I was like 13, 14. They had like a random grocery store. That's where I got Infinity Gauntlet issue 1 at. And it's just Farmore was a drugstore or like department store or whatever it was. And they had like those multi-packs with the Iron Man comics in it. Like that was my introduction to comics before I ever went into a shop.
Yeah.
Same thing.
For sure. Next up is that Edge of Spider-Verse writer Alex Segura is writing a novel about Arana in Spider-Man 2099, which I think is cool. I think it's cool that a comic book writer is actually writing these novels, because usually it's vice versa, where it's like novelists go into comics, but he's also a novelist. He's on the bestsellers list. So here he's a novelist and a comic book writer. I think this is the best case scenario. And also Alex is great. So love seeing
Alex
that news.
Cool. Yeah, very cool.
This is a good point. Now they sell manga at Walmart and Target
because they're popular,
which is true. But again, I don't know, if you put comics there too, they might sell also. I don't
tried though. Remember the DC Walmart, but they did specific books for Walmart. They should have just been selling books that are in the comic book store.
They still sell them at Walmart, and do
they?
Yeah, and they sell them in packs. But the thing is they're at the checkout lines. They're used as spec books because they make variants out of them or second printings out of them, and they run out of them like almost instantaneously.
That's so sad.
There's a lot of spec people buy them, so they're not like in the book section like at Target, where Target's manga is in the book section. So it's like if you put comics there, and just, I don't know, man, it's just something that maybe you could try. I don't know.
It's like, I don't know how Walmarts are in your area, Mike, but like ours, we have like a certain aisle that has like all your trading cards and all that stuff. And that's where they put them. That's where they put those like 80-page giant DC stuff.
Yeah. Ours is like the front checkout lanes.
Yeah.
And that's where they have,
it's up near the front. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember when they were first coming out. Yeah, they were like in that first area. I guess I don't go to Walmart. I'm definitely more of a Target girl than Walmart.
I am too,
girl.
though.
Target's not as close to us, so I go to Walmart for everything. So, unfortunately.
Next up is that Bendis has a new Dark Horse book, and I actually thought the concept was kind of fun. So it's called, and which sometimes the concept is great, and then the execution's not, but we'll see. It's called The Ones, and it's pretty much these so with the multiverse, blah blah, let me read the actual description. With the multiverse and the pop culture zeitgeist, The Ones is a story about every hero was ever told they were the one of a particular story, and then finding out they're not. And I'm like, that's actually a really cool concept. I will pick up the first issue, but I just hope it's a good execution.
I'm not. I'm not even.
You're not gonna read it?
No. I'm not even going there. I think I am officially done with Bendis. This is
And I think
that's
that's
a funny
okay.
comment. That's a funny comment. Can you imagine?
That would
Saga,
be a little crazy.
Saga issue
Yeah.
1. Can you imagine a little kid going?
Yeah, I hope that's not
Culture
there.
shock,
That should be in like a special shelf.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Brand, you gonna get Bendis?
I'm torn. It's like it does sound like a cool concept, but also like I keep trying Dark Horse books and very rarely do they resonate with me for whatever reason. So
Serenity says Target is too bougie, expensive and far. It keeps, I don't know. I never thought of Target as a bougie place.
no.
Usually like Whole Foods or something. Be like, that's bougie. It keeps public. I keep it to Publix unless I need to get clothes. We don't have a Publix here. Publix
we
is
don't
definitely
either.
more of like a Florida thing.
That's me in Florida.
Yeah.
That's where I have Publix.
We go to Target for like board games and stuff. I don't know why, but
Target's got good.
Target's got
Yeah,
great
it's got a
selection of
good
board games.
selection.
Yeah.
I just like the variety of Target. And I don't think it's too bougie. You know what seems really bougie, but it's really not? Trader Joe's. When you think of Trader Joe's, like that's bougie.
Trader Joe's.
I've just never been
It's
there.
a bougie little store.
But it's also not because it's not expensive. When you shop there, it's so cheap. It's the
like,
cheapest groceries you can
it's
get.
like pretend bougie, right? I mean,
yeah.
See, we have both. We have Trader Joe's and we have Aldi here. Aldi is way far from bougie.
I hear that's like more of like a Costco.
No, it's not.
No,
it's a small grocery store, just like Trader Joe's. But it's
they don't have
if
both?
you look at Trader Joe's, it's opposite of Trader Joe's.
Okay.
It's like it's cheap, but it's no frills whatsoever. It's not fancy looking. It's boring. You go in the aisles, you buy your shit, you bag your own groceries, you put it in your own cart and stuff like that. I used to work for them, and but yeah, that's what it is.
That's not the one where you have to pay to use the card, is it? Like,
it
is. Okay,
yes.
Okay.
But you get the quarter back. Everyone says you got paid to use the card.
I've never been in it. I just heard about it. Yeah,
we had one to unlock it, right?
Okay, yeah,
and it forces you to put the cart back,
so they don't have to go out. So they don't have to go gather cards.
There's no people. Some people don't care. Like, I don't give a shit about my quarter. I'm still gonna leave it in the parking lot.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't leave it in the parking lot, but I also probably wouldn't give a shit about my quarter in that circumstance. Right. But yes, you do pay for the cart, and you know what, Trader Joe's, that's where I'm at. Love my Trader Joe's. All right, moving on to Mad Catz acquires Papercutz. Just speaking about young adult children's books, Papercutz was very known for that. I think it was a really good move for Mad Catz to jump on board.
Yeah, Mad Cave is they making moves, and they
why
put
do you
out
keep
some
saying
good
Mad
books.
Catz? Mad
I don't know, because they have that comic Battle Cats probably. But Papercutz, they do like the Hardy Boys and Nancy Drew and stuff like that, and Smurfs and different things.
Loud House.
Yeah, Loud House, and there was another one like Loud House. I can't remember what it was, but it's a cool move for them, and hopefully it'll get more people aware of the Papercutz stuff too, with Mad Cave coming up. So
for sure. Next up is I'm going to do two of these. So Nomad is returning Captain America, and then also Winter Soldier and Captain America are getting a special. My comments on these is that I just think it's cool that Captain America is like getting stories that are important again, where it's like they're actually like saying, oh, you should like read Captain America, because I'm enjoying Captain America.
Yeah, I'm enjoying Captain America. I don't think we needed a special or a one shot to expound on what's going on inside the book, though. I think they could have. Yeah, I think they could have just told this within the series, but it's fine.
But it makes it feel special.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm not reading any Captain America book. I love that first Zero issue, and I didn't really like
the Steve one.
I'm really enjoying the Steve one.
Yeah, I think I missed out on it. Again, there's a couple things I missed during the summer. So it's just like, all right, well, since I missed it, I'm not going back and reading it. So I'm just cursed, just not going to read it. So
the Sam one's okay too, but I like the Steve one better.
I didn't like that first issue of the Sam one. I just felt it was very, I don't know. I didn't I didn't care about it. It wasn't very memorable. Like you had what Crossbones show up at the end of it, like
it's
you know.
But the Steve one's really good. I'm really enjoying that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't love the Sam one, but the Steve one is really good, and I don't usually like Captain America.
Right.
Fresh News says, I still smoke in the cinema. I've only been ever asked to stop once during the Avengers Endgame because it was sold out room. That's shocking to me. Where do you live?
Yeah, right?
Unless it's like, I could kind of see a Juul because you could kind of get away with that. But like a cigarette, I don't know.
I mean, right? I live in Texas, and that would still be frowned upon, and you'd still be approached. I don't know.
Explain yourself a little bit more on that one because I'm curious.
You go to a small town somewhere? What's going on?
Yeah, it's like you sit next to the person, you're like, "What's up, brother?"
Especially
I'd be like
a
moving
real
seats
cigarette.
because I'm allergic to this stuff, so I don't like being around it.
I will say, like, I've been to the theater and I've seen, like, I've smelled cotton candy and be like, oh, okay, I've seen the electric cigarettes.
Yeah, like
that
is it vaping or is it actual smoking or what? Yeah.
Yeah, because vaping I kind of get, but I don't like cigarette. Like, where do you put the cigarette?
Right.
Like,
put it on the floor, step on it.
I guess so.
Well, we gotta talk about this one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's part of our news too. I mean, I'll pick it up, but it's like too much Batman.
That I'm picking up though. I want to see that. That is going to be a fun book, I think.
I mean, they've teamed up before. It's not like anything completely
for some reason, I guess from what I heard, that Mark Silvestri has been wanting to do this type of book for years.
And I like Mark Silvestri, so I'll probably try it too.
Yeah.
Fresh News answers the question. Okay. Yeah, New Zealand, and they go usually when no one's there. Okay, I think that's helpful. Maybe we just have an American mindset about it.
Yeah,
maybe. Like, where do you live? Okay, next up is the new event for X-Men is called SOS, and we found out it was about Mr. Sinister. I'm reading no X-Men. This does not affect me. I
hate Sinister right now.
Did they say what else is it about besides it just being around Sinister?
Just let me read the tweet.
It's like if you won,
new disaster.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, this is the blurb. A new world, a new disaster. Mr. Sinister plans come to fruition beyond his wildest dreams and his darkest nightmares. Can the X-Men survive the experience? That's pretty much it.
That just loses me completely.
Sinister is not the same Sinister as he was at all. Like, not even a little bit. And that's what's disappointing about it. He's like a jokey character now. And since when did he become that way? Like, did he clone himself so much that it's not even, it's
I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Right.
He's like become a completely different character, and a character that I do not like at all. The Sinister I remember was like devious and conniving and mysterious and all that. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not even in the same thing. Like, that's hard. That hurts, man. Mm-hmm. It's like it completely changed the character from what he first was. Like, I went back and I'm looking through old X-Men books, and I have that first, like, I think it's like his first appearance or his first cover appearance, and there's like Madeline Pryor's on the cover with him, and I'm sitting there looking at it. I'm like, man, oh man, Sinister looks so badass when he was like introduced and everything. And then even going back to, like, I know the comics and shows are a little bit different, but when I look at the X-Men cartoon, like, look at that Sinister, right? That's the way he's envisioned in my brain. And it's just, he's not even the same, man. It's night and day.
Even like the Age of Apocalypse Sinister that experimented on all the mutants and stuff like that. It's just, this is a completely different dude. It's just, he's a joke.
Literally, he is.
Yeah, literally.
Moving on to, this is more of like a teaser thing. Alfred returned in a Batman vs. Robin preview pages. This is a character I'd be okay with returning. I feel like they did a lot with him gone. He's been gone for a long time. I'd be okay
They
with
should have
it.
never killed him anyway. There's no
That too.
there's no purpose to killing him. Like he's a staple in comics. He needs to be around.
Yeah.
Right?
The only thing it did was kind of make Damian grow up a little bit, which I appreciated the way that he took it.
But I don't even know if that was that intent. I think that if it was if Joshua Williamson did that,
right. Yeah.
And the intent obviously wasn't there for Tom King to say, "Oh, this is going to make Damian into a big boy now."
Oh no, it was just shock value. Yeah.
It was the shock value. Yeah, exactly. But it was like I appreciate what Joshua Williamson did with Damian and used that story thread to his advantage to build upon it. So that's credit to him.
Yeah.
But even in Tom King's run, I remember when Alfred died, I was like, did Alfred just die? Like they did it so
I
like
was too.
Did it just happen? I was like, I'm confused.
Yeah.
It wasn't even shocking.
I think we were all like, maybe it wasn't actually him. Maybe it was Clayton.
Yeah.
Clayface. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, they kept him dead a lot longer than I thought they would. So now it's like, okay. Yeah, exactly. So it's good. If he comes back, it's like, okay.
And he hasn't really been in a lot of stories either. So it wasn't like the Wolverine or Doctor Strange effect where it's like Alfred's always there. I'm not saying he hasn't been in stories, but like the main Batman titles he's talked about, but he's not really there, which has been nice as well.
Right.
So they've actually done the depth pretty well.
Yeah.
Speaking of Batman, we got Arkham Academy because you know what? Why not? There's all these Academy books. I mean, I'll pick it up. I'll only because like I want to try it, but I haven't liked any Academy books.
There's all these new characters though too, and it's just like, did you see them all? Where they come from?
They look goofy. I like both the Academy. I like Gotham Academy. I like Strange Academy. I don't know about this one. It's like, okay, this is.
But you didn't like Titans Academy.
That's true. That is absolutely true. So.
That is very true. And this probably is going to be more in the vein of Titans Academy because that's the most recent thing from DC. Glass Full of Smith says, what will be the future of Black Cat, who is rumored to be playing by Sydney Sweeney? I mean, if Sydney Sweeney is playing her and the movie does well, I think we'll just have a lot of Black Cat stories.
Good. That's fine. As long as Jed McKay writes them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I hope he stays on it. And that's another writer who's been on the character for a really long time. It's just been on different miniseries, but it's great that he's been on it for such a long time. Giving new material seems like in every volume as well, and really giving like a saga. Right. All right. Well, last news piece is that Wildstorm is reviving, which, you know, I feel like they do this every like couple of years and it never succeeds. So I'm good.
I mean, they haven't really gone away. Like we've seen Grifter and Zealot recently, not that long ago, popping up in Batman books and stuff like that. So I think it's some kind of anniversary that they're coming on, so that's why they're doing it again now. But yeah, again, it never is successrosenberg
maybe it's trying to get a spark, something, right? So we'll see.
I know that Rosenberg's writing, and he's been doing a lot of anything related to those characters. So I guess if you've been enjoying it, at least it's the same writer who's been doing it. Yeah. That's all the news. So let's get into the most anticipated.
Yeah, let's do it. Which we do have some crossover stuff between the three of us, but some different books there as well. So let's start with you, Kat. What's your top three?
My number 3 is Radiant Black issue 17 because I did coverage for Radiant Black in San Diego, and I know Kyle's even been teasing on social media. This is going to be a big issue. It's the origin story of Radiant Yellow, so I'm interested in that. Then number 2 is Rogues Gallery issue 2. I loved issue 1. I'm a big slasher fan, so I thought issue 1 was really solid. I'm curious to see how they're going to piggyback off the cliffhanger there. And then number 1 for me is Fantastic Four because it's the Last Stand slot issue, and this is when we find out about Mr. Fantastic's sister.
Yeah. So I will go to me because my number 3 is actually Fantastic Four, and for the same reasons there. Robin, number 17, last issue. He learns the truth about Flatline, so I'm excited about that. And sad to see it end, but still curious to see how it ends. And Radiant Black, which I also found out that Federico Sabatini is doing a cover for Radiant Black.
Nice.
Yeah, it looked really cool too. So looking forward to that coming out. All right, so Mike, what are yours?
Well, it's a lot of the same. I think I was the only one that did something a little bit different here, and I did Radiant Black, which was my number 3. Amazing Spider-Man was my number 2. I like the storytelling, and I kind of curious to see where it's going to go with this whole Vulture storyline at the moment right now. And then we have Robin issue 17, which again is the finale of the series, and I'm curious to see how this wraps up. And obviously, I think this is going to lead into that Robin and versus Batman storyline. So, looking forward to that. It's been a great run when it comes to that, and I'm sad to see it go.
Yeah, me too, because that was by far one of these, probably DC's best book at the time. So it's just like, oh no, that book's gone now.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so I guess that's about it. If you guys want to plug your Kickstarters one more time before we close it out, that would be awesome. And then we're going to close out the show.
Yeah, check out the Dancer Issues 1 through 3 on Kickstarter. Ends next Thursday. Finally, the world tour or the American tour of Cat going to Comic-Cons is over for a little while. So I'm very tired. And I took a whole day off yesterday because I am tired, and I'm glad that I'm not traveling anymore. I'll be doing little shows here and there. I think I have like a couple of day shows, and then in October we have 1 show, and then November we have 2, but at least we have some time. But it'll be September is going to be a nice little break.
Nice. Very cool. And my Kickstarter again, a Steampunk Carol, ends Friday, so you got to back it soon. And I just dropped a link for that in the notes. I don't know why I keep saying notes, comments below. And also I'm going to drop another link, which is my wrestling podcast, The All Cast. I did release a new episode over the weekend or right before the weekend, so go check that out as well.
Awesome. So there you have it, guys. There was another episode of Comic Book Weekly. It was great to have all of us on for the first time in quite some time. We had a great discussion though tonight, 2 hours worth of stuff. So hopefully you guys will be with us again next week as we will bring you more comic talk. And the week after that, well, we'll see, because man, that week is going to be a rough week for comics.
Maybe you can tell us the topic of what we should talk about.
Right. Hopefully there'll be some good news. So, of course, guys, if you love what you see, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to both channels, Comic Book Weekly and Comic Book Corner 2.0. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss when this show actually does go live. And, of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social medias, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, yes, most importantly, YouTube. So, again, guys, thank you so much. And this is all of us signing off, doing the wave. And we'll see you guys all